looking forward, this is really an important thing to keep in mind for condominiums because the trend is absolutely clear. The sale of gasoline cars peaked in about 2017. So we are now about 7 or 8 years into the decline of gasoline car sales. They will never go back up again for a whole host of reasons, not just electric vehicles, but electric vehicles primarily. And as you can see, the exponential growth that's happening with the sales of the EVs. And you can see the inflection point is somewhere, you know, somewhere out to the right. This shows 2027 out to maybe 2030 or so. You know, who knows where the actual inflection point will be, where they cross, but it will happen faster than most people think it will. And it's inexorable, you know, regardless of what administration is in place, this trend, it may slow down a little bit, it may speed up a little bit, but the learning curves of EVs are such that that they will overtake ICE vehicles just because they will be so much cheaper to make. They really already are. Okay, let's dive into some specifics about condominium charging. There are a lot of great resources out here. Here are a few. There are, you know, some helpful aids that can help you move around and kind of get some checklists. There are some good how-to articles out there, some good resources for finding people and activities. The one thing I couldn't link to here is CAI's Common Ground magazine from 2019 in an article called All Charged Up. It's actually one of the better ones. I'll send it to Charles and he can forward it around to you guys if you like. I have it digitized, but it's not online anywhere. These are all good, but unfortunately, they're not enough. Condominiums are really a unique animal, unlike any other housing stock in existence. They don't act like apartments. They don't act like houses. So, and then each condominium is unique in its infrastructure, its bylaws, and its policies. So there is no one size fits all that's ever going to occur for condominium electric vehicle charging. They have unique membership. So you might have one condominium might have a bunch of people that want EVs and makes it easier. Another condominium might be full of people who don't want EVs and they're just really going to stonewall anything that happens. And each condominium has varying ability to take on complex projects. So these are really interesting dynamics that make every successful charging installation at a condominium something to celebrate because it's a very difficult task. No one should fool themselves to think that their condominium will be easy. It won't. It'll be hard. However, it is doable. I can say with pretty significant sort of confidence that there is a solution out there for almost every condominium. It may not be perfect. It may not be the end all be all, but there is a way to move forward at almost every condominium. There are four basic options available to each condominium. They can just do nothing right now and punt it down the road. We'll talk about that next. You can find a narrow suboptimal solution to just buy time. That worked really well at our condominium for a lot of years. We bought a lot of years by using a suboptimal solution. You can do an association-led project, or you can hire someone to do what's called a turnkey solution. They do all of the engineering. They hire all of the contractors. They do all of the work to get the chargers online. They manage the chargers. They fix them. That's all called a turnkey solution. You just contract for it, and the chargers show up. Sounds easy. Sounds nice. There are a lot of downsides to it. So doing nothing is a real option. As I mentioned, the right to charge law has loopholes galore. meaning as a condominium, you can make it so hard and so inconvenient and so expensive that no individual owner is capable or willing to go through those hoops. Or you can work with your membership to find a way eventually to get it done. And I truly believe a horrible charging solution is worse than no solution. Better to wait till you can find a solution that's going to work for your association, not just force something through to get it done. You'll pay down the road for doing that. New opportunities, new solutions will continue to come online that may make what is hard now easier in the future. The downside here is your community does risk falling behind. As more and more condominiums install charging, uh, you will be increasingly behind the eight ball for people who have EVs and are looking for that. Your condominium will become less attractive if it does not have charging. The suboptimal solution is just finding a wall outlet somewhere and finding a way to let an EV owner use it for a while. This is what we did at our condominium in our garages for quite a few years. We just bought cheap inductive meters for the outlets that are near the cars, and they just plug in, and we read those meters once a quarter and charge them per kilowatt hour. And it was nice and simple, and it worked. And we got about 3 people charging via this approach, and it bought us time to find a better solution. It can be really low cost. Each of these meters you see here is less than, it was like $50. And then we just charged like another $50 to install it, put it in a plexi plastic case with a lock on it so no one could reset it. Way to go. You can use ad hoc agreements to not set precedent and to let those owners know it could change anytime. But there are a lot of different ways you can come at that. This is one example of just finding an interim solution that just lets you buy time. Turnkey solutions. Power companies do this. Almost every commercial company, if you ask for a turnkey solution, they're likely to offer some variation of it. The make-ready costs will often dictate the terms of the agreement between you and the provider, because the make-ready, as I mentioned, is some of the hardest elements.
999-2859.
And then the provider is typically going to dictate everything. They're going to dictate which hardware you use, what software is used, how much it has to get charged per kilowatt hour for anyone charging. And the costs of this are usually pretty high. And the worst thing from my optic is you're locking in for typically 5 to 10 years. Like Dominion, who I'm showing here, Dominion Power forces you to lock in for 10 years, meaning you are tied to that solution for 10 years. I'll tell you, the EV market's going to change a lot in the next 10 years. I'm not sure I would want to lock into 10 years. But there are condominiums where this may be the only viable solution. Association led, you're going to treat it just like any other you're going to treat it like any other capital project. You'll set your priorities and goals. You're going to figure out how you're going to do your make ready work through an engineer. You're going to bid and select it. You're going to find an EV charging provider that aligns with your goals. And I would really encourage adding in there an EV advocate to help make sure that whatever solution you come up with, the EV owners are not going to revolt against it. Because if it's a bad solution, they're not going to be happy. They won't use it, and you're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck having spent all this money, and no one's going to use it because it'll be too expensive, too inconvenient, whatever the reason might be. But this is the most flexible. It allows it to just become part of your condominium, and then you just treat it like a capital equipment, like everything else in your condominium. So we're going to bring this to a close here with These are the key questions that I do not see included in any of the other checklists that are online or that are in any of the how-to arguments. These are the kind of questions you should be asking as a condominium before you dive in. You want to know, I think it's really important to know, for instance, what the target price you want to aim for your charging. Because if you make it too expensive, your chargers won't get used. If it's so expensive, EV owners will go through the inconvenience of going to another place to charge. So if you can't set the price right, you're in a world of hurt right out of the gate. We got to know what margin you have on your electricity in your building, how you're going to think about load balancing, which is sharing power across chargers. I'm not going to run through each of these. We can talk about them in the Q&A, but these are all really important, subtle aspects of condominium-related charging solutions that are not really captured anywhere else. And again, you have a link to the whole deck that you can come back anytime. So we'll just wrap up with our solution. We have 4 chargers. We have 4 Tesla EVSC universal chargers. So they have both NACS and J1772. They're shared, first come, first serve. Whoever's there first gets to use them. They're each on a dedicated circuit, and they're integrated into our whole building electricity. So they're just a small load on the whole building's overall load. And again, that's unique to us. Other condominiums may be able to do that, may not be able to do that. And we built it to add 2 more at very low cost. So we did make ready for 6, but we installed 4. So when we get enough usage, we'll add 2 more for just $1,000 or $2,000, because all of the infrastructure is ready to add 2 more at very low cost. All 4 are reserved solely for EV charging, but only charging, not for parking. Teslas just plug in, that's all they have to do, and everything gets billed to their account. The Volkswagen and other non-Teslas, they just use the Tesla app to start the charging, and it's billed to their Tesla account. We used our policy to define when and how charging is allowed, and any kind of special constraints on that, particularly to ensure the spaces don't get used for parking. And at the moment, we're running about 80 to 100 sessions a month, or about 2 megawatts of power. Then finally, we funded this by using our association reserves. And then we built the price per kilowatt hour to pay for the electricity and to put money back into our reserves to recapture the capital costs over time. So within 5 years or so, we should recover all of the costs associated with installing these chargers. And it's really, I think, that's win-win for everyone, because even if you don't have an EV and you live in our building, you are getting benefit from this, because you can tell prospective renters that there's charging here. When you sell your condo, you can tell the realtor to advertise that there's charging at the condominium. So you increase your potential customer buyers or renters by not excluding EV owners from that equation. So with that, I'll wrap up and just leave this up here for a moment. But I'm more than, if you have a condominium, you're a board member, or you want some help, just reach out to me.